Hi, everyone. I'm Jan from Socialbakers, and my presentation's up. Fantastic. So, just to get a little bit of a feel of the room, who's an investor in the room? Who's an investor in the room? Nobody. Who's a brand marketer? Marketers in the room. There are a couple. Who are startups in the room? Pretty much the rest. Okay, cool. Are you guys managing marketing in startups via social media? Yes, probably. So a little bit of background and history to Socialbakers and where we come from as a company. We are 5 years old as a company. We're over 250 people now, and we actually managed to grow to almost 2,000 clients at this point. Our vision as a company is to become the standard of the way people measure social media performance and social media marketing. And we've been able to do a lot in that area over the last 5 years. If I look at where we started, we basically started off the site pretty early on in over 2008. We launched, originally the story is we launched as a social media agency. We went and build Facebook applications for different customers. And we quickly realized that building Facebook applications is not going to cut it. It's not going to build a product, and it's not going to build a company with evaluation at any sense. So we started building an analytics product. We've actually launched at the time Facebakers.com. It wasn't anything about baking faces. And it was literally just Facebook Bakers because we found that funny at the time. And at one point, Facebook came to us and said, we've just patented the word face, and we'd like you to rename the face part. And we were very happy about that because we managed to rename to Socialbakers, and that is much better than Facebakers. We continued with a funding round from Early Bird in 2011. It was a small round. It was a $2 million round. Then we had 1 year later, in 2012, we had a round led by Index Ventures with $6 million. And also, from a client perspective, grew from 1,300 to 2,000 clients, actually most of the growth coming in the last 12 months. We also have a portal, socialbakers.com. That became a go-to destination for marketers all around the world. If you really want to learn something about social marketing, social media statistics, anything, you go to socialbakers.com and you'll find pretty much everything you want. And it's being visited by over 800,000 people every month. And we're really proud of that. It became a really, truly global destination where marketers all around the world go every month. So to sum it up, from our clients, 50% of the Fortune 500 are our clients at some level, 20% of them at a very good global level. So they use us not only globally, but also locally. Companies like Nestle, companies like Procter & Gamble. We have 800,000 visits on the site per month, and we're actually near 2,000 customers. This is our team. Some of the clients in, for example, telecom. So because we have the big spread of clients that we actually manage to touch a lot of companies. Anything from startups to telecom operators to fashion companies. And being able to do a lot per different industry actually gives us a domain expertise in every one of those fields. So we help clients a lot. This is the FMCG clients that we have. We also quite a global company when it comes to our spread. Normally, a lot of companies in the SaaS business are, where are your revenues from? So they go like 80% US, 20% rest of world. For us, it's the other way around. It's 80% is international, from Europe, from Middle East, from Latin America, from Asia, and of course, North America. But we're a very well-distributed company with 12 offices around the world. If we look at social media, the way we look at it, a lot of what we call next generation companies would be using us. And how do you know you're first generation or next generation? So typically, first generation company would be somebody would set up their Facebook page, set up their Twitter profile, and just do something for the sake of doing it. And rather for just, creating, listening, doing a checkbox, okay, I'm doing some level of measurement, I'm doing some level of content production. Did I post my post today? Yes. But really, to get to the next generation, you have to understand what that post brings you, what that content piece gives you as a company. Sorry. In the next generation, you look at different things like customer care, you look at really iterative measurement, you look at the top metrics. For example, a lot of the first generation companies would be looking at themselves just through fans, but not looking at themselves through engagement or customer care or anything like that. They'd be looking at pure fans, some interactions, maybe some basic platform metrics, but not looking at anything at any deep level. The companies that would be next generation would be companies that would put up screens, distributed dashboards into their company and allowing them to understand what they're truly doing, how effective they are. So for example, this dashboard sits inside the Nestlé headquarters in Vevey in Switzerland. And the two screens you see, for example, are screens provided by Socialbakers, where you see a globe and rotating information about engagement. It is about a 15-minute play cycle, and it aggregates and distributes 1 million content pieces and interactions per day that Nestlé has on its social media profiles. Nestlé only on Facebook has 2,000 pages. Their competitors, 15, 20, 25,000. That's just on Facebook. Then you have Twitter, you have YouTube, you have local social networks in Russia, in China, different things, quite complex things that you have to cover on a global basis and understand, for example, what works for competitors, creating a content scorecard. And of course, Nestlé doesn't do only organic reach on Facebook, they do a lot of paid media. So understanding the paid media aspect of things is critical. So we see 3 dramatic shifts that we're helping also address as a company and helping solve. So one of them is content marketing, that's kind of connected to advertising, and of course a focus on social customer care. So from a content marketing perspective, in 2009, an average user on Facebook liked 5 pages. Today, it's more than 50. So you, of course, also on Facebook and Twitter, you want to actually follow friends and people that you like, not only brands. So it's not like 50 brand pages or 50 celebrities are going to be in your newsfeed. It's going to be based on relevancy, engagement, friends engaging to those content pieces. So it's really about capturing the attention. And unless you do great content and you use a portion of paid reach, you're not going to be the one of the 5, 6, 7 pages that actually does get displayed in the newsfeed, that people do interact with. And you also kind of adopt your history with your page. So if you have a page with great engagement, you continue having a page with great engagement if you do good content. If you have a page with shitty engagement, even though you do great content just for once or twice, it's not going to help you. It's going to be better, but it's not going to help you. You have to consistently work on good engagement. And of course, this is a lot about storytelling. We have a principle we call the Simpsons principle. It's kind of a never-ending story. You can't really ever stop writing a social media page. And many people today on the first generation side would still think, okay, I run a campaign in social media, I publish 20 posts about that campaign, and then they actually stop publishing. There are still companies that stop publishing on their Facebook page after a campaign. This is horrible, horrible stuff. But also we have to look at the content. So in 2009, these pages would publish 7 posts in a month. In 2013, this would be over 40 posts a month. So the amount of content that these pages sent out, 2,000 in 2013. Now imagine a normal user on Facebook cannot consume 2,000 content pieces from brands. He can, maximum it'll be tens or maybe 100, 150 passively and engage with tens of them. So as a matter of fact, that number of liked pages is still increasing. So you basically, if you're a brand or if you're a startup, if you have a page, you're competing with a lot of companies in there. And you have to stand out. Do it by great content, obviously, and this is kind of like the content is king cliche, but also through good paid advertising to understand who are you advertising to. The best companies in social media today don't just go to Facebook and say, advertise this particular post, but they actually go and create many, many, many options of ads. So very important shift in social media is newsfeed is completely taken over. These are live stats based on over $100 million in spend of different advertisers, where the newsfeed, which is the blue part, had 0% of advertising. It was launched in 2011. Today, it's over 70% of all ads, and this is even going to be 80, 90%. I believe the right-hand side ads, which is the white part, will basically go away from Facebook. Twitter doesn't even have it. LinkedIn has it to some extent. Google Plus doesn't have advertising as of yet. And over 70% of the ads are actually with still very basic targeting, the default targeting. So this is a lot of the clients, a lot of even the startups that we've seen are just wasting their money out, sending it out to anywhere, to countries that are relevant, using the basic friends of fans targeting to pay their social media advertising, and check. We're doing Facebook ads now, it's great. We're doing Twitter ads now. But that's not really what you're doing. You're basically wasting 75% of your money if you're not targeting properly. And what is it by kind of targeting properly? It's creating a Facebook post, getting, of course, your organic reach as much as you can. It's also not about hunting for fans, so that organic reach doesn't increase when you hunt for any sort of fan. But if you find truly the guys that love you, yeah, maybe they'll be more expensive on a cost per like basis, but your social media guys shouldn't optimize on a cost per like basis, right? They should optimize to the people that are actually going to use the service. For us as a B2B company, it's very important to find the right people, right? The finding of the marketers that are potentially going to buy the things we have. And of course, use the fans and friends of fans at a certain level of a paid combination, but most importantly, use different target audiences and custom audiences. Now, custom audiences is perhaps the most important. You can promote today to an install base of an iPhone application. You can promote to an email, just to upload an email database as a custom audience, or an audience of Facebook IDs, and that's it. Of course, it has to be an opt-in database always, in all cases, or phone numbers. And you have a custom audience. So as Socialbakers, we do custom audiences of clients, of prospects, of different things, and we want to target different messages to different people at different times. And of course, don't compete with yourself, right? Don't send messages to you with the same thing. And we can help companies solve that on different networks. This is our ad analytics product. This is the product where you actually can see, different audiences, fans, non-fans, target audiences, and you can see who and what you're advertising to at the same time. And even though you're doing 10 options of a particular ad, you see them aggregated. So we solve the analytics part, but also the optimization part by allowing you to turn it on, turn it off, tweak the budgets, and helping you promote to the better target audiences by using great analytics. Because managing ads today is about understanding great intelligence and analytics of how you did before. If you promote to 10 target audiences, some on a keyword, some on some demographic, some on a particular user group, then you want to know which ones work better, and next time optimize. Put more money on that one, put less money on the ones that worked less. And advertisers often do the mistake of promoting even to people that really just genuinely don't like them. There are some brands that have certain demographics, certain age groups that don't necessarily like that brand. And brands still advertise to them. And it's not about necessarily stopping to advertise to those groups, but advertising in a different way. Another thing is social customer care. As Socialbakers, we've been the first ones to talk about social customer care as a big topic. We've actually been the first company to create a social customer care metric, which we call response rate, and a second one is response time. And we were the first one really to come to a page and say, okay, you divide this by this and you get the metrics. And this is very important. We've been monitoring it since 2011. And since 2011, not only the volumes have gone up several times, but companies actually started really responding their customers. So they started by responding only 5%. Today, they're answering over 62% of the questions in social media. Still not there perfectly. A lot of the brands actually still have closed walls and basically don't take comments. A lot of startups have that as well, which is very surprising. But there are great industries, finance, airlines, telecoms, where actually they do reply. And if they do reply, they reply 80%, 79%, 77%. For telco companies, it's actually quite dangerous, for example, not to reply. It can become a disaster. It can become shared. It's a user update. It's an open update. A tweet can be retweeted. A Facebook post can be shared. Trust me, a lot. I myself, I've posted to my telecom operator a few months ago and inquired about a problem that I had in a very specific language. And it was 8 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, it was shared 700 times. 700 times, which audience of about 75 to 150,000 people. Still their most successful Facebook post on their page. And that's a problem because they didn't deal with it right away. They dealt with it in the morning. It was already too late. Nobody cared after 140 comments and 700 shares that they actually replied at the very end. Everybody thought they should have responded that in a matter of 10 minutes or less. And if you're not there, not doing it, your brand is really crisis ready. And we help brands become ready for that crisis. So about Socialbakers, if we look at the competitive set of what we actually mentally compete with, then of course you have the native analytics of the platforms themselves. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have some level of YouTube insights, and we naturally compete with that, but we embed that into our platform. So for example, Facebook Insights doesn't provide any competitive intelligence, any content intelligence, any things that would help you really assess your metrics, your benchmarks, your customer care, anything like that. So it's quite basic, and it provides some closed data that we also integrate in the platform. Then there are listening companies like Radian6, Sysomos, and a couple others. Those basically look at tap into a keyword and do some trends and do, for example, sentiment analysis. As a company, we don't believe in sentiment analysis on a robotic basis because there's just too much joking in social media, there's too much double meanings, there's too much contextual issues. If you go to a football team and you say, you guys are wicked, or you go to Vodafone UK and you say, you guys are wicked, then it's two different things, but a sentiment engine can never catch the proper context unless it's full NLP, and that is, you can barely do that in English, let alone the other 90% of our clients in languages, Arabic, Chinese, Portuguese, Spanish, you name it. So for that, it's other than that, it's only tapping in, listening is only tapping into a keyword and monitoring how many times have people said that per day, which is, we decided to look at the more competitive angle. So what is this Facebook page doing versus that Twitter page, and do benchmarking around it. Of course, there's ad management tools. We focus on the analytics and optimization. You can do management through our tools, but we leave the kind of the different management parts to the management players. Then there's engagement tools, starting from lightweight things, very basic startup things like Hootsuite, up to the super enterprise tools like Sprinkler. We have an analytics-based management tool, but again, it starts with analytics. It continues with all the other functionalities. And in a way, we compete with the big data tools like NIP or DataSift, but these guys, it's kind of a do-it-yourself type of thing. So if you want to connect everything and do it yourself, I mean, it's not a solution to a problem you're having. It's actually just creating an API. And 99% of things today you can do without, for example, the Twitter fire hose. You don't actually need that to do 99% of the things, only if you want to monitor Olympics at a very deep level. But even those, we've monitored those without that, and it's fully okay. Top sports, looking at keywords, analyzing players, very simple to do. And you do it on a 60% sample, and it's 99% same as the full thing. And Socialbakers falls in the competitive analytics. We help companies give actionable insights on their social media. And all of the companies that we work with, that work with different things like that, use us for doing the native analytics, use maybe us in combination with a listening player, some level of ad management. Not many companies actually do use the big data from a marketer's perspective, and some use this in a combination of an engagement management tool. And as I mentioned, how it works, so we take some restricted APIs, public APIs, pour it into the analytics platform. On top of that analytics platform, we do our own benchmarks. So because we pre-monitor all the data we do, we actually have a unique metadata set. Twitter doesn't have a categorization system. Facebook pretty much calls brands in products and services, which is good. They don't go into granularly in every detail. But we go up to the detail of chocolate companies in Germany, chocolate companies in Switzerland, beer companies in the UK, beer companies in the Czech Republic. So we have them understand how are you performing compared to a particular benchmark, and then provide two things. Of course, we put out some stats free on socialbakers.com. We often get told that we actually provide too much for free, so definitely check out that site. And the Pro Suite, our analytics that offer a deeper, much deeper dive insights and intelligence. We have three key products: analytics, ad analytics, and builder, as part of our Socialbakers Pro Analytics Suite, where analytics helps you look at the key KPIs, understand with all of the social media metrics what you're doing. So social is not about one metric, it's about all of them, not only about fans, not only about engagement, about all of them. So our philosophy to always have all of the ones available inside the platform. For example, when Facebook launches something, we will have something in 10 to 15 days, we will have a response for that in our platform. Twitter, same thing. YouTube, same thing. If it's launched critically, if it's changes in the API, we guarantee to have it. If we don't, we can't serve our 2,000 customers. The benchmarking part is really a very strong component. We look and have you understand if you're a car company in France, we have you understand how are you faring to other car companies in France in general, not only one-on-one, but to other ones or to the entire car global category. We have hundreds of those ready-made benchmarks, both on a global level and on a local level. So it's basically, we have about 200 global categories, about 100 countries that we monitor. That's 20,000 recalculations that are going on every day on all of these benchmarks, calculated from millions and millions of data units per each category. So 20,000 times millions. It's quite a few, billion requests going on in our platform. But we do that to provide intelligence. And on the bottom end, you then see, okay, is Aston Martin overperforming the automobile category in the US? It is on all counts. But you have one-click executive report. So basically, you come in and you say, okay, I want a report. I want a 3-page report for my management. I don't want to go deep dive into everything. Simple. You produce it, you get a PDF. If you don't like forests, you can print it out. You can put it on your iPad if you do. Ad analytics is an optimization play. So as I was talking about this before, you basically help and understand how to do advertising. Who launched a Facebook ad campaign here alone? Nobody ever launched a Facebook ad campaign here? Oh my God, that's not good. So who ever had someone in their team launch a Facebook ad campaign? A few. Okay, a few. So if you're doing that, and if you're managing it from your perspective, you have to see, okay, is my team really doing targeting? So a lot of the CMOs that actually would be in the same situation, they would be like, I would ask them, how are you managing your social advertisements? Like, well, I'm actually giving it to an agency, or I'm doing some parts internally. I mean, imagine the old model of the agencies. Today, they are used to getting percentages of fees. But that only allows them, motivates them to just spend the money. So if we look at the entire industry, as I said, over 70% of the ads are actually targeted on a very basic level, which means wasting the money. And if we look at a spread of companies doing that directly and agencies doing that, it's actually a lot of the agencies would be spending extra amounts of the money and kind of in a not very relevant way. So I encourage you, if you work with your ads, if you have them in-house. I mean, you never want basically your guy that posts the content, because now all of social advertising is about content. So you don't want the guy that publishes it to have to pick up the phone, call an ad agency saying, could you promote that post? Oh, by the way, do it to this and this and this and this target audience. And in 6 hours, when he publishes the next post, does it again. It becomes quite ineffective to advertise on social media. So we try to create a layer over that makes that effective. That even if you work with a media agency, it helps you work with that. If you work in a team, it helps the content guys really understand the performance of what you're doing on a paid reach basis, how much you're paying for that, etc. So you really understand these things on a real-time basis. And then you can come in and, okay, how am I doing on this particular piece of content? Okay, I want to boost it now. You click the boost button, you launch the campaign, you edit the budget, go. And you have a campaign launch in 5 seconds. You want to do a second variant? Put a targeting group, another 10 seconds. If you do this on Facebook, per creative, even in Power Editor, it's 10 minutes. So you save your team a whole load of time where they can actually focus not on the filling of the ads, which is what probably the social advertising teams do, but on actually finding the right audiences to target to, rather than just spending time doing admin work. And with our Builder tool, we didn't want to be like other social media management tools. So when we came in and said, we only do a social management tool and posting tool if it's purely from an analytics perspective, if we go deep dive on analytics. So anything that is actually comes through the tool, whether it's your sent content or your incoming or competitive data sets, of course the competition element again being the key for Socialbakers. So you always have on the top right of the post the number of interactions for that content. So we never would publish a tweet inside there without the interactions coming in real time. So when you see a normal stream in, let's say, a TweetDeck or a Hootsuite, some free tools, you'd see on the left side just tweets or posts. But how do you know which one is effective? How do you know which one actually works? So you'd immediately look and you'd see which one works. That's quite a big use case. You have things like internal chat where you click on the green button and it gives you a possibility to have an internal chat with your team rather than sending emails from management to the social media team. Hey, how is this tweet going? How is this? What are we going to do about this in the future, about this topic? You actually have a structured conversation, kind of a chatter-like conversation directly in your engagement console. And of course, a lot of the people that publish today on social media, they're going away from publishing it, just let's say publishing one piece of content to all platforms, but they really tailor the content to every platform. So on Facebook, you have a photo album. On Twitter, you have one very good picture. When you're publishing to Google+, you use some specific hashtag that you don't use on the other networks. Any other posting tool doesn't allow you to do that, so we allow you to actually look at one post and customize that. If we look at where social media is today and where we are as well, it's kind of where we're really starting. If you look at social media marketing, it's, as I was saying, so a lot of the companies still don't do it right. There's a huge potential in social advertising because a lot of the companies can't get the targeting, don't know how to target, don't know how to capture their right audience. And we're kind of getting into the Minority Report type of advertising very shortly, where you'll actually know everything the people are really wanting. So now we have also a division called Socialbakers Labs and Socialbakers Plus, which do professional services and some more deeper dives, advanced for not 2,000 clients, but more like tens of our biggest clients. And it's a part of our company. It's about 10% of the size of the revenue, but it's also quite a favorite part of the company where we derive innovations as part of our team. And it's very important for a company like us to keep driving forward. Part of our team, we have almost 100 engineers which work every day on kind of reflecting these on our own roadmap. When Facebook launches something, Twitter launches something, we're there to go reflect it. But it's very important for us to innovate. And part of our Socialbakers Labs is also looking at different ways to innovate and different ways to give insights. So one of the things we've done in that part is our brand love applications. We've done them on Facebook. We have an iPhone one and an Android app. And we basically tell people, how much do you like these brands? It's aimed at B2C audience. And we're doing research through social media. We've done research, for example, for Samsung. We've done research for Purex, which is a washing powder in the US aimed for women 45 plus. And we've managed to do a research on women 45 plus through social media in about 14 days. Normally this research on a kind of a net promoter score-like result. This research normally takes a research company 4, 5, 6 months or even more, and they don't get the level of competitive results that they would with us. But what we can actually do with that is starting to understand the psychographics of those different audiences. So you look at a particular user, and if he likes Volvo or if he likes another kind of more safety-based brand, you know that guy's inclined more towards safety. If he likes Red Bull extreme sports and motorbikes, you know that where the psychographics, where the user's demographic kind of lies towards to. And as we're understanding more of that on a very, very granular basis, we'll be able to give recommendations that are so personalized for the brands, give not only a telecom operator a competitor to monitor that is from the telecom area, but give him somebody to monitor a startup. Give him, I don't know, that he has a very similar audience to this particular startup or that company. Or give startup recommendations on what are the companies that are not in their field, but that have a very similar audience. So maybe you're in providing enterprise disk space or whatever it is, and you figure you have a very similar audience to Socialbakers, a more marketing SaaS company, so you target to Socialbakers. Don't do that, by the way. Please. So in social media, you have many, many different ways to target. And it's really just at the very beginning. A lot of the companies are still not doing social media customer care as much as they should be. So more than 25% of companies around the world still have a closed wall, literally a closed wall. And you write them. I wrote British Airways is an example of a company that has a completely closed wall, and they only respond on Twitter at some level. And you really write these guys like, what are you guys doing, right? And it's very difficult to get a response for them. There was this guy that landed in Lisbon in Portugal, and he's like, guys, I just lost my luggage. Could you deliver it for me? And could you help me out? I'm going to be in Lisbon for the next 2 days. They responded in 3 days saying, how can we help you? I mean, that's not effective social media customer care, right? I mean, that guy could have gone crazy. And I've alerted them on this and many other about a year ago. And then 2 months ago, a guy came, wrote, I hate the customer care service of British Airways after exchanging 10 tweets with them, and actually promoted that tweet. with $1,000 of his own money, costing more than the actual service. And they now call that, experts now call that complaint-vertising. And I would go as far as calling it like, you know, brands can be actually terrorized through social media, in a way creating a brand terrorism activities. And don't think of that as the Greenpeace attacking the page of whatever people that, you know, kind of kill palm trees and whatever. But think about it as genuinely either competitors or people that really just dislike your brand to go after you, to even connect, because they can do that very easily through social media, and then going after you, trying to hurt you as a brand. And this can be anything from a startup, this can be anything from a competitor. But if somebody does that to you, you have to be ready. And so brand terrorism, I guarantee you it's going to be a big thing. But most importantly, we seeing this, for example, in Turkey. This happened to a bank there. A lot of people draw out the money from the bank in the crisis. Of course, it was kind of more the problem of the ownership of the bank than anything else. But it spread through social media and spread like crazy. Normally, you wouldn't have this spread because the TV wouldn't cover this because the bank owns the TVs. So on social media, things like that spread a lot and amplify everything. And you have a way to stop that. So summary, on Socialbakers, we're the fastest growing social media analytics company in the world. We're truly a global social analytics company. We're not a company that goes and says, yeah, we understand the US, we understand the UK, but outside that, we don't really understand what people are doing in the Middle East or in Asia or in China. We actually go deep dive on these areas. The market is really, really early still. It's not matured at a full extent, and a lot more money are going into social media. I don't believe social media as a destination of digital. I believe it as a layer over digital and over TV, similarly to how Twitter, for example, aligns itself with TV, that when people are actually watching, they're tweeting. People don't consume one media after another today. They consume all of them at the same time. I mean, people are watching their TV, having their laptop, and tweeting from their phone at the same time. So as Google called it, it's kind of the one device. I mean, it's literally not going to be two devices very soon. You're going to be doing the same things. And we really do believe that. And we also believe that there's going to be a social layer above everything digital, and everything. TV is going to kind of go away to be not the terrestrial television, but on demand. Who here watches terrestrial television every day? Normal television. One person? Who downloads on-demand things? All right. So you have a good look into the future of television. And it's not really television. When I ask my cousin often visits, he's 15, 16 years old now. And he's like, can I watch TV? And there's a humongous TV in front of him. Can I watch TV? Like, yeah, sure. He grabs the iPad and opens YouTube. That's on the question, can I watch TV? So that for that generation is TV, and that generation is going to infect slowly the generation above them and above them and above them. And when we're all going to be watching on demand, but that's already digital. And everything digital is going to be social, with a social layer over it, because everything with social is better. And we kind of agree with Mark Zuckerberg on those statements that a layer, it's to have contextual, social context is the best. So in the next 12 months, expect Facebook to launch a social advertising product that goes outside Facebook. Why on earth would they otherwise buy Atlas from Microsoft, right, to serve their own ads on Facebook? They can do that themselves. So when they do that, I mean, the Google targeting is going to be less relevant. So if they actually manage to get demand and get supply, it's going to be quite a cool ride for social advertising, because it can become all digital advertising truly when the social relevant embeds are going to come on the site, come on the other sites. I don't click on Google advertisements. I don't know if you guys do. Maybe on some retargeting, on some YouTube I do. But the Facebook ones, in the newsfeed especially, those are quite relevant sometimes. Thank you. That's it, actually. Thank you very much. Are there questions? Oh. Couple. We'll get to you.
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Do you plan to expand to Instagram? It's like a yes.
Watch out for next week.
Perfect, okay.
I mean, it's a similar question, but everyone knows there's a sort of growing plethora of social media platforms in the market. Even Snapchat, people are now talking about as a place where youngsters, many years younger than me, are more comfortable sharing content because they know it's going to disappear. How do you see that impacting analytics overall in terms of the growing number of platforms, and how companies will need to look at the analytics and I suppose, look at what actions they should be taking?
So first of all, I love the fact that there are more and more platforms because the complexity of measurement is increasing. I believe you can standardize metrics around those platforms from an interactions perspective, from an engagement rate perspective. So for us, it's great. I think we as a company will need to reflect all of those at a certain level of, let's say, critical adoption by brands. So Instagram or LinkedIn or others have gotten a certain critical adoption of brands where it's interesting to start doing, and others don't yet. So if Snapchat has 10 brand examples, it's not enough to start monitoring because the amount of clients you have is 10 and it costs you some money to actually deploy an entirely new platform. But we're thinking of ways to do that in a more faster and flexible way to deploy more dynamically. But I think, one more thing, I think a majority of the engagement today that we're seeing actually happens on Facebook. In some of the Twitter Facebook markets that are the dual markets like US, India, South Korea, it's actually happening like 75% on Facebook, 25% on Twitter. There are like majority Facebook markets, I would say, like Poland would be one, Turkey would be kind of gaining on Twitter, but still more of a Facebook market. So it really depends on the market itself. Of course, then there are vertical networks like Pinterest. In China, it's a huge fragmentation up to youth from different things, verticals. So we're looking into how much we want to scale that. But the majority of engagement still happens on those platforms. And honestly, brands cannot manage 37 networks. They'll only be able to manage 3, 5, 6, 7, some of the best ones. But I think it'll stick at the 5 top. So we always have to monitor top 5 in a market or for a particular client, and then we're good.
So you could enable them to handle a long tail of brands?
Yes, correct. That's the tools are there to handle the long tail better. For us to, a lot of the APIs, for example, of the long tail networks are at a quality level where they would need a rewrite for them to work enterprise grade. And with a lot of partners that we've integrated in the long tail, for example, the Russian Kontakte, we've managed to find over 100 bugs in their API. We're also the biggest reporter of bugs on any API in the world. I wouldn't like to mention, but we are the biggest maker of bugs confirmed by the networks. And we help them get bug free over time. So it's also a benefit working with us for them.
Jan, just a question, your perception on Facebook search and whether you expect that to be a big part of your business and a big part of advertisers' budgets and that going forward.
So I think that I will divide that question into like Facebook hashtags, where I think hashtags are part of analytics and you have to monitor that as we do on Twitter. And Facebook search is amazing part of our business. I mean, it's to analyze that. It's social context, so analyzing that is practically impossible on a global scale. But on a branded scale, like if you're falling out first or second or something like that, it's a vital part of our business. So whenever we always say when there's an API, it'll take us, if it's critical update, from 10 days. If it's a less critical update, then 45 to 90 days to reflect those features. And we have to. Again, we have a commitment to our clients. If we don't do it, someone else will. But most of our competitors don't have 100 engineers, so we're good okay for now. Any other questions? 1, 2. Thank you, guys. We're ahead of time, right? Thank you.